Okay. Hey, thank you for those of you who are on camera. It's all good. Let me make sure that I highlight mine. All right. There we go. Okay, we are moving through the scriptures. Miss Lisa is helping me tonight, and she's going to ask a few questions about this book and this journey. I'm going to talk to you as well. You can pop questions in the chat, and also I'll allow time for Q&A. We can discuss this and have a great discussion. I don't know how many of you will ever watch The Shy, but you know how like they have Sister Circle, so we kind of doing that. Today, but it's moving through the scriptures. This is the book. It's available. If you haven't purchased a copy, it is available on Amazon. And yes, I've highlighted my own book. It is available on Amazon as well as a journal if you want to take any notes, but just letting you know, just in case you didn't have a chance to grab the book. So, Miss Lisa, please take it away.
Okay, hey everybody, good evening. Um, so moving through the scriptures has been so helpful to me. So one of the questions that I have, and for others who, um, for those out there who might want to know, why is the knowledge important for every member of the ministry, not just the leader, but for all? Why
Very
is this knowledge important?
Very good question. And I think that's what many of us have missed. The word of the Lord says, study to show thyself approved, right? Unto God. It talks about a workman needing not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. And what I experienced, this might not be your experience, but what I experienced over the years teaching at multiple dance conferences across the world was the leader. A lot of times I would see leadership go and leadership would go and they would glean and then they would go back and they would try to give like highlights. We called them cliff notes back in the day. They would give highlights to their team, but their team wasn't being developed on the same level. So you have this mega weighty leader and then you're looking at the rest of the team members and there's not a match going on. So for many years, I have served as a dance ministry leader at the local level, the church level, the national level, the international level. I had Rain Dance Company in Las Vegas for 5 years. One of the requirements was that every single one of them read my books and they had to pass tests to dance. People thought that that was being difficult or complained about the standard. But what was interesting was we grew quickly to 40 members because people wanted excellence. And sometimes we forget that sometimes the people who really belong there won't even join because they don't want raggedy. Y'all know I'm a straight shooter, right? They don't want to be associated with something that they have to be embarrassed about. So beyond technique, I believe that the word is the foundation. And I believe that we accomplished more in 5 years than some teams have done in 25 years because they were fulfilled with the knowledge of the word of God. And that made it easy for choreography. It made it easy for training. It was less conflicts in the ministry. We traveled frequently. God did a lot of things with us because we sought first the kingdom of God, right? We were putting the scriptures first. So my goal as a dance ministry leader everywhere I go, including in that particular company, is to make sure that everybody can serve as a public defender of the worship arts, which meant that from my 10-year-old all the way up to my seniors, any of them, I could call their name and they could do a 30-minute workshop impromptu because I made sure that they had that much information on the inside of them. Not only, and we weren't limited to the church, right? So I'm talking about the local church. We traveled a lot. We did a lot of high visibility events. So if people were asking questions, I understood that it wasn't just a reflection of me as a leader, but as kingdom ambassadors, if we are talking about the things of God and they have no information or have to run and find me or run to find a member of the team to explain themselves, then I didn't do my job, right? So not only in addition to studying the scriptures and doing biblical studies and making sure that they have resource materials, I also make sure that each and every one of them could pray, because sometimes that's the thing we do. We had a leader of prayer. We had a chaplain. So we had somebody who was the leader of that. However, I believe that we limit the capacity and the reach of our teams and our ministries because we let everybody stay small and we let everyone stay dependent instead of grooming everybody to be a leader. I always tell them, if you stand out front, you're a leader. Everyone on your team is visible. Someone is sitting, receiving from them. They are a leader. Leaders are held to a higher standard. So this was not an auxiliary. This was not a little dance team. This wasn't something they were doing. They are putting their lives, their spiritual and physical lives on the line doing this. And I had to make sure that they had all the equipment, all the armor, every tool that they needed to succeed in it. So each and every one of them was assigned a leadership position according to their capacity. But if they could not find themselves in the word, that was going to be hard to convince them to do. So as we studied moving through the scriptures and as we studied the roles of leaders from Genesis to Revelation, people found themselves. That's how we knew we needed a keeper of the wardrobe. That's how we made sure that people were serving well in their position. That's how we made sure that people were committed, because we didn't have rules, we had freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. So the more we poured the word into them, the more freedom we had to move, to pray, to practice, to preach. And our rehearsals were not practices, they were worship experiences each and every time. But it wasn't difficult to convince them. So what I found, even as I still talk to leaders now, that sometimes there is a challenge getting people to follow them, to listen. There's resistance. Well, if you read Moving Through the Scriptures, you know that Miriam had something to do with that, because her name means what? If you put it in the chat, did you read it? Or if you took my class, you already know the answer to that. But we are to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. For most of us, our pastors, our leaders do not have the particular assignment to develop the worship arts ministries the way that many of us do. And whether you're the main leader or not, remember, you're a leader, you stand out front, right? So it is up to us to make sure that we get the proper resources. Yes, we have the Bible, but when you get, you know what they say, like you can study. I'm also thinking about the people who've gone before, and we find examples in the Bible. But in the natural realm, I also studied leaders who had trailblazed and who opened up opportunities and who made ways, studied them so that I didn't have to start from square one. And a lot of questions that I get asked, I'm like, man, did you try? Like, did you even do any research at all? And you will find that there are many, many amazing tools for people. So my push to everyone tonight, whether you read the book or not, is to pray and take personal responsibility that every single person on your team is equipped for this work. It makes the entire team better. And as partners with the word, that the preached word of the ministry, if we develop them, how do I say this? You will gain more favor with those who are asking. We don't want to be tolerated. We want to be embraced. And when we continue to operate in ignorance, people tolerate the dance ministry team. And for however many minutes we're dancing, they tolerate it because we have not impacted the service, the conference, the atmosphere, the experience, the Bible study the way we should have, because we're up there moving, but we're not moving through the scriptures. Lisa, I know that was a long answer.
But it was a good answer. So, but listening to you and how you developed your team, is that what inspired you to write this book? Was it working with your team or was it the arts as a whole?
Y'all, please don't judge me, but I was so sick of sitting in dance conferences after 20 pieces. And maybe one of them moved us, maybe. Um, I was irritated after all of the years that 30 years I told y'all, right? I have spent in worship arts. I do not see, I don't see evolution. I see there are teams that are powerful. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I don't see a radical evolution from what we did 30 years ago. When I'm going to conferences, events, concerts, it feels like you remember, and I'm pleased if your church is like this, but it feels like wooden pews in a digital AI world. And I'm not saying that we need to be AI. I'm saying that because of the lack of study, I was seeing a lack of advancement and transformation. And as an excited word girl who jumps up and down about the word of God, when I would ask basic questions in a workshop, people did not have the answers. And I'm talking about licensed and ordained people did not have the answers. So there was a retention problem, right? So it doesn't mean they never heard it, they didn't retain it. The word, David says, thy word have I hidden in my heart so that I might not sin against thee. Well, if out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks, there was nothing in that heart because that mouth couldn't say nothing. When you ask who danced in the Bible, we got David for most people, right? Maybe Miriam, people would call her Mary, maybe. And that's where it ended. So when I thought about moving through the scriptures and the many dance ministry books that I had read, I had never seen a character study on every dancer in the Bible from beginning to end. So I have read through the word. Y'all got Bibles right now, child, all around my desk. I have read through the entire Bible several times, but every time the Lord had me do it, He had me do it from a different lens, right? So I've done it for garments, and I've done it for writing, and I've done it for movement. And that's why it's called moving through the scriptures and not dancing through the scriptures, because movement started in Genesis 1 and 2. Okay, so I started from the beginning, and I found as I studied these links and these repeated patterns, like dance, like these repeaters, right? And these steps that were very similar, and it gave me revelation. And I also discovered the satyrs that I had not ever heard anybody teach or preach on before. So it was a holistic, comprehensive approach with me even listening to God about why I should do this, and it transformed me forever. And a lot of the things that we preach and say and hear about dance ministry are great opinions, and they might be good practice, but they are not biblically sound. And that's what I've come to discover. So it doesn't mean it's wrong. What I'm saying is, if I have to stand on it, it has to be in the scriptures, because the word never fails. And we remember that. Our methods will fail, but the word will never fail. So everything that I can stand on is rooted in scripture, and I know God backs that up. And just because it's in the Bible doesn't mean that it's pleasing to God, but there is definitely a lesson in it when we're looking at the power of movement through the scriptures.
Mm-mm-mm. Wow, that's good. Before I read moving through the scriptures, I thought I knew some things about dance ministry. So, um, the revelation that you got has been so helpful learning about the different people that danced or the even like the satyr. So, um, I heard you say that the radical revelation of the word will bring radical revolution to ministry arts today.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. And what I'm finding is our hearts are not as set toward God as we think they are. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the attitudes of people when it comes to the word, and y'all, some people just don't have revelation. So I get it. So I'm not one of these people that's just gonna come and say, you need to sit in. Some of these people talking to us ain't got no revelation. Or their stuff, that's their opinion. And y'all, they are in Exodus 28. Same thing with garments. I owe y'all God's order for garments. Y'all pray. I think I'll release it in 2027. Y'all pray. But people will stay stuck in one revelation, one chapter, one era, and not look at the totality of things. So that's why a lot of this is. So when I go to conferences still, people are packing those movement classes out. This is our book class, so I can be me, right? Full of devils. Manifested.
Help, Jesus.
Resistant, rebellious,
Miriam.
Can't dance that good. And I'm not that, I'm just saying this we have, unfortunately, especially largely in our circles, and y'all know I'm telling the truth, we have let mediocrity and foolishness clapped it up just because we thought, baby, that you just doing the best you can, instead of taking personal responsibility and maturity, Sister Jackson, for literally equipping them. We have allowed mediocrity to go on for so long that it is now the standard. And excellence is rare, and power is rare. And I'm not saying it's absent. We all have seen it, right? But that's what I'm finding. People are clamoring for dance. Why? Because they get to get up there in front of everybody at the night concert, at the conference, or whatever we're doing, and they get to spin around and they get to twirl around. And then I come back 5 years later and there is no change, advancement. They got the same demons and devils that we had the last time we got together. Why is that? Really? I would love to know why that is, or is that just my observation? And a lot of times, because I've seen it from not only coast to coast, but nation to nation, I've been able to have a broader perspective, I think, about it, because it's not just me in my local place, right? And so I also believe too that sometimes when we're in a larger ministry, that the larger ministry, because of their numbers, believes that they are already a prototype for what should happen. And I'm finding that sometimes those are the less equipped ministries because they're in a big old fishbowl and they don't traditionally get out and fellowship with other people. So people will run to certain ministries, not all of them. This is not about any one thing. This is just something over the years as I've been a lot of places, you all, okay, that they like to go because of the name of the pastor or the name of the ministry, but their worship arts department is not developed, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll go because, and I call it celebrity adjacent. So that is one of the things that I feel like we're challenged with as worship arts now, is we feel as though being celebrity adjacent is a sign that God's favor is on our ministry. And what am I saying? You dance at a certain concert with a certain famous gospel person or preacher, or you get to do that, it's celebrity adjacent. So people feel like, I've made it. Oh my gosh, look at the favor of God. We get to dance on these stages. Or it's a huge mega worship arts conference. This person asked our team to come. Wow, we are so favored. We are so special. And it's being celebrity adjacent, not understanding that sometimes, if I can be honest, because I've lived this, people will invite you because of numbers. I've traveled 40 deep with people. So people will invite you because that's more registrations, because that's more seats. And I'm not saying that the ministry is not good. I'm saying that sometimes there's motives behind an invitation. And sometimes our heart posture is that we feel special because we are celebrity adjacent. There is nothing wrong with going to mega conferences. There is nothing wrong with being on mega stages. I am saying that we need to get back to the point where we examine our hearts, right? Because we can get lifted up in pride thinking, oh, look at all of this. A 33% of the people in the room like what I'm doing. Maybe I can take them with me, right? So we need to really check our hearts all the time and say, did God send me? Is he asking me? Am I seeking him every single time? Or am I so excited? And y'all, I've been there. Am I just so excited by who's inviting me that I don't know that there's a javelin on the other end of that invitation? This is why we have to seek the Lord. We say it's not about us, but we think that it's about us when we get these invitations, and then we get hurt, we get heartbroken, and then we can honestly go back and say, Lord, I didn't seek you on that. And I was excited and I wanted to feel special. And that's really why I went. But as we continue to study the word, he'll keep us humble, he'll keep us nimble, we'll continue to seek him, and then he will protect us. If not, we get hurt. I've been hurt, you've been hurt. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yes. Do you feel that celebrity adjacent is hindering the worship arts community, or what is hindering us? What's keeping us from moving forward? Of course, we know the word, the revelation of the word is plays a major role, but what role does that celebrity adjacent, or what do you feel is hindering us right now?
Sometimes with the celebrity adjacent culture, I believe that, we go above and beyond about how we look, uh, who's in front, who. And sometimes the most precise technical person is not the most anointed. And I'm not saying it's a most thing. I'm saying that sometimes we really do overlook the person who can move an atmosphere because we're worried about optics. We can't wait to be share the flyer, to post the socials, because see what I'm saying too, because we want people to think that we are chosen. We are special. We don't want to admit that sometimes, but we see it. And I see a lot of times, and I've been invited to a lot of stages, y'all. Uh, and I just see how the people are used to bring additional crowds or to be additional marketing. And it's not always, um, sometimes it is relationship, right? It is not a God assignment. This is why, and I've been here too, that you keep seeing the same faces on the flyers year after year after year. And some faces are good faces to see. But after a while, to everything there is a season, right? So what are we really looking for or paying attention to the one who really, really is carrying an on-time Rhema word for us? Or are we inviting people to the platform because we know, hey, people are going to get excited. This person's a prophet. Can I say this too? Because I'm all for the ministry gifts. But a lot of times we're clamoring for a prophetic word when we really need the Bible. We've not started there. So there's a lot of that, and there's a lot of extra spiritual activity going on. So people run towards that. Ain't talk to God, have not spent time in that word, but we're going to run and we want a prophetic word. And when we get a word, we feel sick, singled out, chosen, special. Or you don't get a word and you feel overlooked. Y'all know that most of the time when I get a word, it's around the corner. Like, people rarely give me a word on the mic because you got to be right.
Right.
But it's the truth anyhow. But I have been in circumstances where I watched everybody around me get a word but me, and I would just laugh. Okay. I was like, because it's just a revelation about what's going on with you. And a lot of times we have people, we're emotional people. We like to dance, we like to move, we're emotive, right? And so I find we go to a lot of conferences and we're slain, we're laid out on the floor, we're screaming, we're yelling, we're crying, and we're still not better. We're still not better, but we're celebrity adjacent. But minister such and such spoke to me, but apostle such and such laid hands on me, but I got this, I got that. They said this, they said that. And there is still no advancement in the life of you, in the life of your ministry, and the life of your congregation. But I felt amazing at the time because it was that high of being, it's like a celebrity adjacent culture. And I see it happening a lot. And a lot of meat is being missing because we're just going for dessert.
Mm-mm-mm. Ooh, that's good. So good. One thing I really appreciate about your teaching is you always point us to the word. And so, talking of moving through the scriptures, how do we choreograph using the word?
Woo, that's great, y'all. In the beginning was the word. One of the things that I loved while writing, moving through the scriptures was even when you look at the children of Israel, they did not move until they saw the Lord. Like they did not. Also, shall I go up? I need directives to move. I'm not just running into battle. Oh God, yeah, now you done open up something, Miss Lisa. We are obsessed with war.
Mm.
Y'all, I hope somebody gets a breakthrough today after I say this. I don't know why. And we are fighting a good fight of faith and all of that, right? But I don't know why a lot of times we go places and it's about fighting, it's about conflict. I learned this lesson. My very first dance conference was called RAIN, RAIN, 2002, I believe, is my first conference. I started ministry before that. Okay. I did not understand that there's a prophetic totality in what you name a thing. So literally it rained that day, but I didn't realize that in addition to raining, it was at Psalm 68, and the heavens dropped rain at the presence of the Lord. So I'm like, oh, you're present. Rain also can create slippery conditions, dangerous conditions. I would see worms and things come out of the ground in rain that you don't normally see. So from that conference, I experienced all of that. Okay. And so I remember I hosted with Rain Dance Company, we did this warfare uh, concert called A Knight in Shining Armor. And we did a lot of battle stuff. Y'all, we went through it.
Help.
I mean, you get the prophetic to tell all kinds of stuff was going on and breaking loose because some of us were engaging in a territory that we did not understand the opponent, y'all. We did not understand the totality of the opponent that we were facing. So we got to pray and war and shandada and all of this for something because it's like if you ever played a video game, we saw something enter on the screen we didn't expect. Okay.
Help.
Do you know after that, I started naming everything prophetic totality of worship. I was like the sun and the rain, REIGN, like the presence. It was all about God because I was like, listen, and do you know that we were just experiencing his presence? So sometimes we invite, and this is the power of naming things, is we found in this book, which is why I asked what Miriam's name means, rebellion, and people don't know that. This is the power of naming things, is that it literally manifests. So I'm not saying be scared. I am saying that a lot of us, I'm like, we got to wear camouflage again. We got to wear fire. That was another thing, not just war, but fire. We got to do fire again. Listen. I don't want no more. Okay, I've gone through the fire. I've been through that. One of my friends in ministry at their particular conference, I ain't naming no names, I ain't saying no names, was like fire, 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 fire. And then there was a fire at their house. And comical me said, well, you kept calling for fire, like for real. Okay. So what we're calling for over and over and over again, and we're wondering why there's resistance, there's war. And I'm not saying there doesn't have to be, but you gonna start a war? You gonna start one? So let's be mindful about what we name things, about what we call things. I've had to change names in ministry. I started as Envision Worship Dancers, ENVISION, right? I started as that, but over the years, I've had to develop. My first publishing company was Renaissance Publications. people didn't understand it. It caused confusion. So when I relocated to Texas, I kept saying get right. When I went to get right, boom, like it changed, and it changed the whole experience of things, because I hear right in three dimensions. But so what you name a thing, you're going to get the prophetic totality of it. And don't marvel at why you're dealing with certain things. If you're calling for warning, you showing up like you want to fight, you better make sure that you are trained for that. So we do it, and then we put our babies out there. They have had no lessons in armory, no lessons in fighting, but they out there swinging, and we wondering why they're getting knocked out, because they are not properly prepared for the terrain that we're taking them into. So I'm just inviting us to definitely make sure it is God and not a trend, because I went to the scriptures with the people, and I said, is camouflage it? I was like, so if I'm a kingdom warrior, God's order for garments, right? If I'm a kingdom representative, how would they show up? What does the kingdom look like? And I looked at what kings and armor and stuff like that. So I started having garments that look like the kingdom type thing. And people's like, this Rakisha girl, man, she can't conform. But I was lining up with the word and not necessarily with what the world was doing, because we be all camoed out all the time. I'm tired of it. Sorry, I do have camo stuff, but
Oh, so good, so good. I have another question, one more question. So I saw this pastor on TV, and he was saying that he was showing a clip. He was a YouTuber. He was showing a clip of a pastor saying that David danced out of his clothes. And and so the YouTuber was like, stopped the tape and said, wait a minute, wait a minute. And he says, where in the scripture does it say that? And I've heard you say it. You have showed us that in the scriptures. So do why does this not go away? I mean, it's been going on for so long and said for so long that David danced out of his clothes, but it's almost like it's a trend, like you're talking about how we wear fire garments, or, I mean, fire is our theme or war is our theme. Like, why can't we come away from this dancing? How is that happening with so many ministries, so many pastors even saying it?
mm-hmm. Y'all, honestly, if we want to get down to the nitty gritty of where that came from, it was an excuse for being buck wild. Like, and I don't mean buck, I mean bucket. Like, how some of us y'all know what I'm talking about. You can't. So David danced out of his clothes. That was kind of like the excuse of, if I lose myself and I start running around here and I just really, really get wild, well, David danced out of his clothes. Okay, but that's not what the scriptures say, right? So I think somebody said it and they thought, y'all know, you know what? That sounds good. Just like a lot of stuff in dance ministry. Stuff like, your hair must be pulled back. You can't do this. You can't wear jewelry. You can't. Ain't nowhere in the Bible that says that. But because someone else set that as a standard for ballet, which is not the only form of dance, right? We start forcing that stuff. Well, it's that thing. Well, somebody said it. Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Do y'all remember that? Somebody said that. Somebody said, turn to your neighbor. So guess what everybody started saying? Turn to your neighbor. Somebody said, slap your neighbor. A lot of this came from the same person. Okay, I mean, he would give us notable quotables all the time, but there's something about us that likes to mimic and repeat things without going to verify if the source of that is right. So now we sitting in places, and David and dance out his clothes. And so my thing was, I'm going, well, at least he had clothes on to start with. And that's and that's my like little funny rebuttal to it. But to say, hey, it does not say that in two separate places of the scriptures. If you read moving through the scriptures, the David chapter, it talks about what he was wearing, and there is revelation in his clothes. If you read moving through the scriptures, the layers of his clothing contain revelations of God.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, there's revelation in that. But when we strip him of that, we strip people of the revelation of God and the things that he wants to say through the different types of clothes and where they came from and how they were even created. Oh my goodness, right? So we mimic. It's the same thing in dance ministry. We mimic movement. May I say that a lot of us look the same because we saw somebody else do it and we do it? Yes, there is a
Ah.
vocabulary.
Mm.
A requirement for my ministry was technique. We spent the first half, which we rehearsed 3 hours twice a week. We spent the first half of rehearsals in technique, right? It was vocabulary building. So then when we start to put the structure of the pieces together, the sentences, the paragraphs, the pages, the chapters, the books, it was easy because their vocabulary was expansive enough to carry a whole chapter, to carry a whole book. Understand? Right? But if you keep using the same sentence every single time, it starts to look like or sound like plagiarism. And that's what a lot of us do because there has been something that we saw that someone like David danced out of his clothes kept doing. Now we keep doing it. That's how I feel when I look at congregational worship now. I'm like, that's it. Like, do you understand how large a dance vocabulary is? And that's it. That's all we can do. One of the things that we also did in worship gathering rehearsals for Rain Dance Company was we would do free flow as part of our training. So I'm gonna let everybody go up. Do you know we discovered some powerhouse free flowers because we didn't just depend on the same people who we always put out in front. Everyone had a different style. And when they did, it shifted, it would make it different. And it wasn't just the same people doing the same things, the same screaming and the same things that we're doing now because we saw it on a big platform. We take it instead of saying, I'm inspired by what I saw. Lord, give me a way to say it. One of the things I learned in English, my major was English, right? My degree is in English, was say it another way. We still haven't learned how to say it another way. So we're still saying the same thing the same way and then wonder why we're bored to tears or wonder why we have not advanced is because we didn't. I do see one of the things that I also did for the team because I couldn't find it by and large in the church was I would take them to performances. So we went to see The Lion King when I lived in Las Vegas. They got tickets. We saw The Lion King. Listen, we didn't have The Lion King's budget, but we sure were inspired because we did not see anything like that in the church setting. I took them to see the Jabberwockies. The Jabberwockies ain't no ministry group. But the reason why I wanted them to see them was because when they came on the dance scene, I forgot what dance program, one of these dance programs, right? It was on NCV or something like that. When they came on the dance scene, they were different. Their style, you couldn't even see their faces, but their movements were different. They got a lot of commercials and things out of it because their vocabulary was expressed in a way that everybody wasn't. It opened up doors of opportunity. That's what moving through the scriptures is about. To expand your vocabulary in a way that opens up doors of opportunity. I have not traveled the world because I'm the best dancer. I believe it's because I love the word of God. I know that
Amen.
that's what opened up the doors. And the
Mhm.
people that I'm impacting, it opens up the doors. If you were with me in dance or if you were with me as an author, you still gonna be a powerhouse word person. And that's the thing that is going to unlock the windows and the doors
Ooh,
for
that's
you. It's
good.
the word. I promise it's the word. The word works. It never returns void. That's the missing part. That's the foundation of the piece. And we keep overlooking that because we want to move, but we don't want to move of God. We want to move, but we don't want to be moved within our hearts. We want to move, but we don't want to meditate on the word day and night. We don't want to do that part because that's too convicting for some of us, or that's too much like work, because dance is natural, study is not. Oh, a baby can dance, but study is a discipline. And we don't want to do the hard work, and it shows. So my push to everybody is be willing to do the discipline so that God can open doors that no man can shut.
Oh my, so good. And that was the answer to my last question. I was going to ask, how can we, all of us that are on here, impact our sphere, of the worship arts and the word,
You've heard me say this before, and then I want to open it up to questions from all of you, whether you chat or whether you say it. This is your time to talk, okay? I tell this to people all the time, especially leadership. Become the standard. Become the standard. What am I saying? I'm a natural dancer. I was captain of my cheerleading squad. I can move people. I choreograph. I did not have dance training. God told me if I wanted to be respected in the realm of worship arts and their leaders, that I would have to go get the vocabulary to be able to stand before them without being diminished. Okay, you have to know who you're going to be sent to. So I, as an adult, took ballet classes, modern classes, African classes. I went to my local community college. I did that. I made that sacrifice. I went to the worship arts. Oh gosh, goodness. I went to the worship arts programs and I sacrificed. Now, even when I was in African dance class, I would wear prep garment, like just a little overlay, right? Because I want to move. Do you know that there were certain movements that they did, God did, I would just move to the back of class. And one of the students came up to me and said, "You're a praise dancer, aren't you?" Even in that atmosphere, they were able to identify me because I'm whatever God y'all talking about. I came here for movement. I didn't come here to get down on my hands and knees to nobody's God. Okay. So you still have to have discernment, but I had to stretch. And then when I formed my dance company, the first person I talked to was a technique instructor. I said, I have vision, I'm creative, but I need somebody to teach technique. She did it. So we had a person who taught technique for that first hour and a half, which means, guess what? We all learned it, right? I teach the layered leadership model. So it wasn't just her. Because we had technique, we attracted other people who had technique. And guess what? Our lead technique trainer had assistants because people who could dance were attracted to a ministry who taught technique. Go figure, right? So we made sure that we had a good foundation of word and vocabulary and movement. So what I'm telling you is study, become the standard. It is challenging for people to listen to you when you're raggedy. Y'all like, yes, I got to talk to us like we can handle it, okay? It is challenging to get people to do stuff when they know you're a hypocrite. When they like, man, you ain't on time. Man, you don't even, man, what? So when they saw me going, I not only that, but I required everyone on our dance ministry to have a passport. You know why? I took them with me. Okay. So I wasn't the only one going. If I'm going, you're going. I tell people all the time, if you roll with me, you are not no flunky to me. You're in training. I am training you for a position that you have to do. There ain't no entourage. And sometimes I think people get that impression when they see me. I don't have Miss Lisa is my best friend and my assistant. Trust me, I'm not bougie. But for some reason, because sometimes there'll be a lot of people around me, people go, "Oh, she got an entourage." I don't. Okay. But I tell people all the time, even Miss Lisa knows I hold her to this standard. If you see me do it, I expect you to do it too. So we have to have a come up. Now in our society, there is a debate about how people look in public. I'm saying that there has to be a standard. Do you know that I would not allow my dancers to come outside with anything on their heads unless it was something that the ministry was doing? I said, no, you don't do that. There was a standard. Our name said Rain Dance Company. I said, royalty has a look. So you're going to show up and you're ready to go. There's things we don't do. There's certain postures we don't take. You don't sit your behind on people's instruments and lean all on walls. You stand in first position. Okay, this is what we did. And because of that, people invited us over and over and over again because they could trust our conduct. They knew the quality of what they were going to receive because we knew how to act. We didn't leave trash all over people's places. There is a standard. And so when you become the standard, it is easier to impact and influence other people to follow your standard because they see that your standard is good. Okay? But if you are lacking, and I'm not saying you got to be I'm still not the best dancer, right? But I can. Okay? I know if you call out some positions, I can do them. If you call out some movements, I know what you're talking about and I can do them. Okay? So if God is sending you somewhere, prepare to go to that place. But don't wonder why you keep getting overlooked if you're not ready for the opportunity. When Joseph was called out of prison, he knew to wash himself and to change out of his prison garments to go before the king, and he was ready. He knew what to do when he got there. Do you know what to do when you get there? Or does somebody have to tell you because you didn't study to show yourself approved? I'm not fussing. I am compelling us to come to a different standard. I don't think worship arts is done, but I do think that it is not, like at one point we were climbing. I don't think we are on the highest trajectory that we used to be because we have settled into this is how we do it type thing, and we have not gone for innovation and we have not studied the way we should. And you know how I know? Because I can ask a lot of teams right now and they do not have the answers to the questions that they would find if they would just study and you would lead them through it. So yes, I required people to pass written tests to dance with us. And why did that make a difference? Because when we danced, God actually showed up. So give them something. Don't have all these requirements and it's not what you have advertised, okay? So make sure when we did a ministry assignment, I told them this is the assignment and this is the result that we expect. And if this happens, that means we fulfilled our assignment. A lot of openness, a lot of communication, no guesswork. This is what we're supposed to do. It happened. Assignment well done. All right, let's see what God wants us to do next. So I hope that y'all know this is an iron sharpens iron, and I have a scalpel and not a sword. So, but I really do want to compel us to do better because I'm not seeing it, and it discourages the advanced people from advancing the cause because they don't want to be connected with no foolishness. And he uses the foolish things confound the wise. I'm talking about literal foolishness. Let me call it ignorance. That's a better word than foolishness. They don't want to be associated with ignorance. I'm opening up the chat and I'm opening up the mic. If you all have any questions, comments, if you read the book, if there's anything that you would like to express, please do so. Take that opportunity. Yeah, there is a journal. I am developing a workbook for something. I do need to put out a workbook. I have a whole course for moving through the scriptures, which you know. But this is a journal, right? And it has all the scriptures in there. And that was to go along with the coursework. This was a whole course, y'all. But you can read the book without the course, of course. So that's a journal. Moving Through the Scriptures has a journal that goes along with it. I'm developing a workbook for our next one. Okay. Questions, comments. Come on. You know, when folks show up, ask good questions. I'm looking in the chat. Just hit your chat or open up your mic and let me know. Let me know. Who read the book? Can you put in the chat if you have a copy? Yes, or if you're going to get a copy, you don't have to say I have a copy. I need a copy. Put that in the chat. Come on, I have a copy. I need a copy. I'm looking, y'all. You everyone, right? Yay! You have a copy. Good. Good, good. I have a copy. Good. We are moving through the scriptures. You have a copy or you need a copy. I have a copy. I read mine and gifted it. Thank you for passing the word along. Send the word. Yes, good, 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 good. Good. Well, I have a copy too. And I read mine too. Okay, all these notes. Yes, and it's a thing. I do read my own books. I definitely got a download from the Lord, and I do read them and make sure that things are accurate. I wrote this book as a theological study, especially to leadership of the church, because I feel like dance ministry or movement ministry is one of the most understudied and underdeveloped areas of the worship arts. Yes, they do it for singers and dancers. They do it for singers and musicians, right? But dancers are tolerated. Remember, I said that. And a lot of it is because we do see that the gut response when people dance is critique. When the women came out of all the cities and they said, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s, the word of the Lord said, and Saul eyed David from that day forward. It causes envious reactions. There's something about the way it makes people respond. And so as David was coming through bringing the Ark of the Covenant, and he's leaping and he's dancing, Saul's daughter, which is what the word calls her, not David's wife, Saul's daughter, like Michal, right? She despised him in her heart. There is something about complete worship, the singer, the dancer, and the musician, which the dancer is, that provokes the enemy. It provokes something that, yes, when David played the instruments, an evil spirit left Saul. So, yes, music has the ability to make those spirits lift, right? But there's something about dance that provokes a reaction, and not only just bad, but remember in the New Testament with Herodias' daughter, she danced and it provoked a reaction, didn't it? He didn't say, I hate you. He said, baby, what you want? Baby, I got it. Okay. So there is a response that we see happens with dance that we don't necessarily see with just music happening alone. And that alone is a reason to be studied and to see what is it about dance, and we wonder why we get the responses, the reactions that we do. Well, if we study the word of God, we understand that that's part of the job description. Okay. Any other questions, comments? What did this help you?
Yes, this was great. I do have a question. Well, I come from a former church where we already had like a dance ministry. We had a set Sunday and all that stuff. But now I'm in a new church where we don't have a set ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So I dance when requested.
Yes.
And then the person that I do report to, another young lady, and she doesn't really meet with us like that, but we have to if we're requested, and the way it's set up is like we might be requested by somebody else, and then when we are requested, then we let this other person know that we are requested to dance, and then we send her our music.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking, isn't that kind of backwards? I'm thinking maybe the people that request us would let her know first, but we have to tell her. I don't know. So I'm thinking like sometimes I feel like it brings a lot of confusion because I'm thinking she should probably be the first one to know, but we have to let her know after we are requested.
So what do you mean when you're requested? What is the request process? So how do you know someone has requested you?
So they would let us know. Like for now, it's the summer hours. So now they might say, okay, we would love for you to minister on this Sunday.
So
So
who?
they,
So I'm just sorry, just for clarity. So who is
mhm.
they? Is it the
She's
person?
like over, she's a part of the, would you say the worship team or the
Okay.
theater part? Yes. So she's over there. She does the, create the schedule.
So she's over the worship team, and like will ask you, and then you all have a dance ministry. You all have a leader of that department as well.
Well, she's the minister, but she's also she used to dance,
Ah,
and then we go to her. But it's the reason I was saying that because one time it was confusion. We was asked to come to a rehearsal one time with the choir and all that, and they did not know. And I know better because I'm a person of order, and I cringe because I saw the energy.
mhm.
Like he did not know. She did not know. And I'm thinking, because like I said, I'm still kind of new to the church, trying to get used to everything. And I was like caught off guard because I'm thinking, if you told us to show up for this choir, for the rehearsal, that everybody that needs to know. So yes, I was just like,
Right. We had a protocol in place. So I literally taught my team. If someone comes up to you, because there was a lot of us, if someone comes up to you and they ask about requesting the ministry, I said, you bring them to me.
Mhm.
So we had or like a certain card, okay, well, here is my leader's information, right? So that they weren't taking phone numbers and connecting with people about ministry requests. So there has to be an established protocol. And if that's not, it should be where we know, okay, if someone's asking us, you know what? Okay, however that happens, right? A lot of times when we got requests, we were on site. So that was easy for them to say when we're out there because they're talking to everybody, oh, I'm so blessed. Oh my gosh. That they would bring that person to me. But when we were not, they would say, here's the website. Here's this. There would be a way for them to give that person the way to contact the person who needed to approve that or to consider that, just to make it clear, also having a discussion, because sometimes, we're orderly, but we're like, is this an issue for them? So having a discussion with them to say, asking them the question, how would you like us to handle this when we get requests?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
sometimes we just don't sit down and have the conversation. And a lot of times in a lot of churches, we know, y'all, they don't know what to do with us. They don't know what to do with the dancers. They just don't know. So we have to give them grace for not knowing, but also sometimes you can lead somebody into a way by putting it on them and saying, how would you like us to handle this? I always tell dance leaders, go to your leadership and say, what is the vision? What would you like to see from the team? Because I've told this story. I've been a powerhouse dance minister for years. There's times where people would only show up to the church to see the dancers. We were out of order. We were powerful and out of order because that was not the type of church that we went to. I didn't know no better. I just thought, well, like people taught us, we supposed to usher in the presence of the Lord until God fixed me on that and said, no, I told you to do a dance of repentance. So he fixed me real good, right? But sometimes you think that you're supposed to be doing something in a house. And I'll say this too, just because I can do it doesn't mean that I'm supposed to do it there. So even though I've been an international worship arts theologian, I've gone to churches where my responsibility was to train the ministerial staff and I wasn't dancing. That was not my assignment to that house. It didn't mean that I could not dance. At the same time, I had a dance company outside of the house. I submitted our schedule to the house. I was supposed to talk to the elder because I knew the protocol. I would submit my ministry schedule. Elder said, no problem. I was in order. But my assignment in that house was not to dance. It was to train the ministers. So sometimes we think just because I serve, that means that I serve at Olive Garden and I serve at Red Lobster. You don't. You don't have to. And I think that sometimes we get that mixed up. Like we're looking to do the same assignment just because we go to a new house. And I hope that that gives somebody a breakthrough too, that you don't have to do the same assignment at every house. And that doesn't mean that you're sitting down. It just means that that might not be your assignment to that house. On the second half of that, I'm saying that find out what their order is and try to help them along. If you don't know what to do, ask them how to do it and then do it their way. And in that way, it's on them because your hands are clean. I did what I was supposed to do. And you can't say you didn't know because we went to you. Okay. But we just need to know how so that you can now refer them to the person who's going to make that decision. And then you can say, okay, now you know you knew about it, because the enemy likes to find places where there is no order to cause chaos and division, but we're not going to let that happen. Diane, your mic is open.
Oh, yes, I did have a question. I would say I was appointed as a leader of the dance ministry during the pandemic. Sister Chandra and I used to attend the same church at one point, but we still ministered together outside of the church. And there was internal conflict within the ministry among the leader. And our pastor sat us down and we had to go through a period of prayer, fasting, and training with the pastor, the whole ministry, or anyone that wanted to remain on the ministry. And then he appointed me to be the leader. But I still struggle with feeling equipped, and I go out to get training and guidance, and he supports that. And I, like you mentioned before, bringing in someone that has technique to help teach us about technique and dance vocabulary, and trying to impart the knowledge that I gained onto the ministry. So he always is like, you can bring anyone you want in, and I support that. But sometimes I feel like there's a slight resistance from some of the remaining members, because it's like, well, that's not the way we've done it before. We never had to worry about technique. I can't move like that. Or you go out and now you want me to spin. No, I don't want you to spin, but I want you to extend. I want you to try, because I bring someone in and they're showing us different things and trying to develop our vocabulary so that we can move more in excellence. And it's become more, it just seems more difficult for me. And then trying to get everyone to come to the rehearsals. I invite them to things like this. Here's the link.
Yes.
Here's the book. We could study this book together, but then no one buys the book. And I don't know if it's a point where I need to sit with the pastor and we develop standards.
Yes.
And he tells me, like, we have standards, like everyone has to meet with him and sit with him and go with sessions before they could join the ministry. But then after they go through the sessions and then they're committed for a little while and then they fall off, he hasn't told me what I need to do after that point. Like, what additional standards does he want to set, since I am under his leadership?
Correct.
And I'm under his house. I don't want to come in and say, well, this is what I want to do. I want to know what he wants us to do and what his vision is for the ministry.
That's so excellent. And the thing is, here's the codependency of the ministry. When you have a leader, they appointed you like for a reason, but they have to trust you and you trust them. And so one of the things that I require as a appointed or selected leader is you got to have my back. Because I'm going to have your back, right? So It's not that I'm coming in here trying to do sweeping things, but some of that old wineskin can go. Everybody does not need to stay. And listen, who you say, y'all ain't trying to hear me. Y'all just want to dance. Like, that's what some people are trying to do. So if you're trying to move the ministry into a new dimension, maybe it's just not the fit for those resistors, aka Miriams, aka Miriams. It's not the right fit for them anymore, right? Also, like I because I will say this with humility. My leadership respects the anointing on my life. If they want me to reproduce more oil, they're going to have to let me crush some things. And it doesn't mean that
Okay.
I'm going to be mean or anything like that. If you want us to be this, I'm going to have to crush this. It is what it is. I'm not going to be evil. I'm not going to be mean, but the standard. And if you can't do the standard with my ministry, church or a community, you miss rehearsals, you don't dance. You miss something, you don't, especially if it's repetitive behavior. We would put the rehearsal on video on a private Facebook page and say, by the time you come back, you need to know this choreography. We had a choreography coach. Speaking of which, I think on YouTube for Moving Through the Scriptures, I have this great training called the Layered Leadership Model. Go watch that video if you have a chance. It's called the Layered Leadership Model. I talked with some of the members of Rain Dance to talk about that. But they would have to watch. We had a choreography coach on our team. I said, if you know you're going to be absent, call Crystal. Crystal was the choreography coach. You get with her. By the time you come back to our rehearsal, they had to know that choreography, because guess what? We always started with new choreography. That was my way too of making sure they didn't miss rehearsal. Sometimes you have to change your approach. I didn't go back and say, they're not here, so we're going to review. Nope, we're starting with new choreography from count one. We're starting with new choreography. Do you know our attendance was good because they knew, if I don't know the choreography, I'm not even going to be on the floor. Like it made them responsible for their own excellence, and to say, if this is what you want, you're responsible. You weren't here. We put it on video and we said, you got Crystal. Crystal will go over to people's houses and help them get those moves right. Okay. That's how committed. But guess what? I made them study this next book that I made them study. Look at how thick this book is. I made them study. I pull out all these dance ministry books. I made them study. If you don't have the word, you're going to fight me. You're going to tell me what you're not going to do. You're going to disrespect me. You're going to dishonor me. Nope. Let's start with the foundations of this thing. Okay. So yeah, it's a requirement. I would rather have 3 filled powerhouse dancers than to have 30 heathens running around there. That's just me. But
Amen.
like I told you, my team rolled deep because I had a standard. The more you don't have the standard, the more you're going to attract the undesirables to your team, because they're keeping the people who really want to do it, they're keeping them away. That's in church or anything else, okay? Gen Pop is the congregation. But when you come into a ministry, this is not for babes. This is a ministry. And I always say this. Dance music does not set the atmosphere for the word. You do not see that. That's not biblical. It is the word. It is a different expression of the word. So if we're ministering in this way, there is a requirement. If not, sit down and pass a towel or a bottle of water. But it's okay. And we love you and y'all can be mad. But when they see the power, trust me, people, when Jesus said, if I be lifted up, right, I will draw all men. People like that, when they see something going on, they want to be a part of it. So don't be afraid to do it for Christ. Don't be afraid to make God the main thing. Don't be afraid of their faces, but you're going to have to stick with it. And don't be desperate for numbers. Be desperate for power. And I'm talking about his power. Be desperate for him. Be desperate for his approval, not those people, right? So it's all right to lose a little if you're going to gain more accuracy, power, effectiveness, partnership with your leadership. Then it's worth telling those other people.
Okay.
And they'll weed themselves out. Do you know that I didn't even have an audition for Rain Dance? I just let them weed themselves out. Listen, if you're not doing, if you don't pass the test, if you don't come, they would just go. That way they didn't have no spirit of rejection. They couldn't say, oh, well, Rakisha didn't. You couldn't hang and you left.
Mm-hmm.
but the standard is high, so that's going to weed them out.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Go forth and be encouraged, please. Please, but get that leadership, get that high leadership pass on your team and say, please have my back. I would tell my leadership, I'm going to deliver what you asked me, but I need you to back me up, because these people and the congregation ain't going to complain. It's these hooligans that was here before me. Okay. I need you to have my back.
Okay.
Let them go do something else.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was good. I like good questions. The good
Thank
questions.
you.
And I see y'all in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anybody else? I don't want to belabor the time. I just wanted to make sure that you got something good and something that was going to encourage you and inspire you, and, you know, sit around the table with people who know how to get you to the goal faster. There's some things you don't have to invent from scratch. There's good wisdom. There's safety in the multitude of counselors. Okay, remember that. So moving through the scriptures, gifted, recommended. Whole teams buy this book. They buy it from me wholesale. There's one ministry in Vegas every year. They take their team through training. I hosted an annual retreat for my dance ministry every year. We would go to a mansion or we would go to a resort, and I would invite. See, this is the thing about leadership. Like you said, I'm Rakesha Pittman. Okay, not to say it like that, but like, I studied. I still invited other gifts that I felt like had a different impartation to come. So I would fly people in from California or Florida and tell them, come set a piece on our company. So we would spend Friday night word studies. I would invite ministry in. We ate, we fellowship, we spent the night. And then the next morning we would let that guest choreographer set a piece on our company. It stretched us it stretched our movement vocabulary, because all of our dances didn't look the same. It gave me some humility and also showed how the body can work together, because I'm not territorial like that. And these people dance better than we did, okay? But it stretched our company because they got enrichment. They got development. They were poured into. You can do that on a local level too. But when people see that you care and that you're pouring into them and that it's a standard, baby, they want to be a part of that. Okay? Next month, if there's nothing else, next month, do you know I re-released this book? It's the second edition of Company Keepers Dance Ministry Daily. This is a 365-day devotional for worship arts. It's right on Amazon. Rakesha Pittman, Company Keepers Dance Ministry Daily. Did I write this in 2009? I re-released it. So it's modern. So the first version of this book I wrote in 2009. I released it in 2010. This book changed my life forever. And notice it wasn't like everybody else's book. Okay? This book changed my life forever. So every single day I wrote about dance ministry, and it has scriptures and everything like that. Like, it goes on and on and on. And yes, my whole ministry read this. It doesn't take 365 days to read, but I made sure that people had 365 reasons to dance. I published this book. I had no idea that God was going to change my life. So I went from being this worship arts influencer to the midwife to over 1,000 others worldwide, because people said that it was excellent and they wanted me to teach them how to publish books. And it's on November 2010. I did my first workshop for publishing books, and I'm still doing it, Jesus. Okay. But Company Keepers Dance Ministry Daily is a great group study tool. I'm working on the workbook for this one, but it's absolutely like, y'all, you do not have one day that you can say, I don't have a reason. So make sure that you get a copy of that. You don't have to read the whole book to join our next discussion, but the next discussion will be that. And I will pick out some specific readings on that to talk about them. But it covers everything from technology to rehearsals to garments to angels to, I haven't seen another dance ministry book like it. But that's my encouragement to say, when you spend time with the Word of God, He gives you things. There's nothing new under the sun, but He will give you things that are unique, that you don't have to parrot and copy other people. Oh yeah, you did write your first dance ministry manual with me. And so look at that. So God took me from, He makes me leave success for success. So He took me from doing a lot of worship art stuff to author. So I have helped more dance ministry leaders write books. Do you know how many more dancers that's going to impact? Y'all obey God. That's all I'm saying. Obey God. So even in that, I still didn't lose the ministry of movement. It just expanded to include all of these other books. And so many dance and worship arts leaders put out books because of Get Right.
Get right.
Keeper's birthday. So y'all get that book. If you don't have it, get it. I promise you're gonna be like when you read that book. And so I re-released it as a second edition because before the first edition said CDs, DVDs, baby. No, I put digital download. Like I went through the whole book and made sure that it was relevant for the times that we live in. So even if you read it before, gifted, I mean, y'all load up your dance ministry library. If I looked on your library shelf, how many books would I count that you have on the worship arts? Make sure that you study to show yourself approved. If you feel like this book club is a blessing, make sure that you share, not the meeting link, okay? Because we want to make sure we know who's in here, but that you share the Dance Ministry Book Club link, invite people. This is what you get in a free workshop pretty much, okay? So invite people. So next month, let's like triple the participation that we have in here. And I'll talk about some specific highlights out of Company Keepers because I believe less people have this edition of the book than have Moving Through the Scriptures is my bestseller. Like it always sells. Okay? Yes? Well, thank y'all. Thank you so much for your time. Next month, I'll put the dates on the website too, but please make plans to join us next month. Whole different discussion. I believe it's August the 24th. Yep. It'll be August the 24th. Okay. All right, y'all. We are moving through the scriptures. If you felt that this blessed you, can you just like go to my Facebook page and write something about it? That would help. All right, you all have a wonderful, wonderful time. And I will see you next month for Company Keepers Dance Ministry Daily 2nd edition by Rakesha Pittman.